Hello dear students, I hope you all are doing well. In this video we will start with the chapter that is disaster management. You all must have studied about disaster management in your earlier classes. In this chapter we will learn in depth about disaster management. Let us first understand what is disaster. You must have seen many things happening around you which causes harm to humans or to the animals or to the ecosystem. Well, disaster is the sudden event that causes large scale damage to life, to property and social aspect of a nation and so. So children, do you all know what are the different types of disaster? Disaster can be of two types. First is natural disaster and second is man-made disaster. Now what do you mean by natural and man-made disaster? Natural disaster happens because of natural reasons. Our involvement is not there for these disasters. And next is the man-made disaster. Now children, there are few examples of disaster which has taken place in the past, and these disasters were so devastating that still people remember these disasters and give the examples of these disasters. So one of which happened in the Kilari, that is in Latur, which is in Maharashtra, and there was an earthquake on 30th September. The effects of Kilari earthquake was so huge that many people died. That was one thing. Also, there was lot of financial loss which took place. Another earthquake took place in Malin village, which is in Ambegaon district in Pune. And here a landslide took place on 30th July 2014. And because of this landslide, you won't believe that. Next was in Mumbai, that is 26th July 2005, the floods which happened in Mumbai, and still people remember those floods. You must have even read in the news and all that 26th July ki barish. So here the lot of flood floodings was there for 2-3 days. There was no light. I still remember I was in 9th or 10th standard that time. Another example of the devastating disaster was the flooding in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, which was on November 2015. And in this flooding also, many people died. Now, these were few examples of the disasters which still people remember because the effects were very large. Let's talk about few important disasters. First is earthquake. Do you all know what is an earthquake? When sudden vibration and cracking up of the earth crust takes place, that is called as earthquake. You must have felt it sometime that whenever an earthquake happens, there is shaking. You can see your windows are shaking or the things which are there. Now we say that earthquake happens because of natural causes only. But not only natural causes, humans also can lead to earthquake. So man-made causes such as construction of large dams that can also lead to an earthquake. Usually these days the dams are constructed on the riverbed which lets more weight on the ground. Now, what can be the effects of an earthquake? Can you imagine what will happen? What loss can be happen to us because of an earthquake? It is very simple. If an earthquake takes place, there can be destruction of the infrastructure which is made by man. For example, the buildings will be destroyed, railway tracks will be destroyed, roads will be destroyed. Whatever construction we have done, everything can be destroyed. So that. Now, second example of disaster is floods. Can you say what happens during floods? Yes, during floods, water is accumulated at one place. Water gets accumulated on the roads or in your locality. So water is accumulated, and because of which flooding takes place, there is no space for water to go away. Now children, can you all say what can be the effects of flood? Now, usually when floods takes place, so the water overflows on the road, and sometimes the water even enter into our houses, which causes destruction. Usually, if you stay in the ground floors, so usually we can see that during rainy season, the water enters into the houses when it rains heavily. So it leads to destruction. Another example of natural disaster is storm. Now, what do you mean by storm? So there are formation of high and low pressure in the atmosphere. In our atmosphere, there are different belts which are there. So when high and low pressure belts are formed in our atmosphere, this causes changes in the weather. In our surrounding, there are changes in the weather which takes place, and because of this changes in the weather. Now, children, what can be the effect of storm? Huge winds are blowing, then what can be the damage that can be caused to us? So storms affects the region, and there is great damage. The walls of the building might collapse, the roofs might be taken away by the winds. Even sometimes there is a destruction of any building or of any wires. All those things are destroyed, and it can even fall on. Another type of disaster is forest fires. Do you all know what is forest fires? Huge fires that happens in the forest area, which there the no humans are living, but our ecosystem is destroyed. All the animals of that particular area, the habitat animals, all are destroyed. So the uncontrolled fire in the forest or the grassland, it is called, when it takes place in such area. Now, what can be the effects of forest fire? Great damage is caused due to the forest fires into our environment. There is a lot amount of smoke which is generated, leads to pollution, and especially our biodiversity is being destroyed. The animals which are there in those regions, those animals get burned. That means our natural wealth is getting destroyed. So these are the effects of forest fires.